if I can get our camera to get mounted on this tank. There we go. And what I've done is I've turned the water off to the toilet. I've given it some time, allowed it to seep down, see exactly where we're gonna drain to. And we're draining all the way down to the yellow flush valve washer, which is what I anticipated we were gonna discover. Now, I don't just replace these washers, at least I don't like to. I like to do a full, complete, thorough job. The washer works in conjunction with the fill valve. So I like to go ahead and replace the fill valve as well when I do this work. And when we replace the fill valve, I replace the supply line as well. So I've got a couple of different options on how we can proceed with that, or a couple of different choices for our products. In this case, my customer's home is on the market, he's getting ready to sell it. So we're not gonna be going with the top tier products that I offer. We're also not going to be replacing the valve coming out the floor, although that's something I would typically like to do. In this case, we're not going with low end. I don't offer low end, but we are gonna go with our lowest tier choice, which is going to be to replace the 3 components I have just specified using good quality products, not my curated top tier amazing quality, but using good quality products. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and get us set up right here on the toilet again, and we'll get started by replacing that flush valve washer. So there are a couple of ways that you can get to this washer and make the replacement happen. Ideally, what you want to do is pull this tube off of here and then rotate this device a 1/4 turn. In this case, I don't like the way it's feeling. I often don't. If you rotate it a 1/4 turn, if it comes off properly, then the whole thing lifts up and out. You have easy access to the bottom of the overflow tube and can make the repair from there. The problem is, as that plastic ages, you start twisting it and it can break. And when that happens, you got to get a whole new product here. So in order to avoid that, I am simply going to take the chain on the toilet. I'm going to release the chain from the tank lever, and we're going to work our gasket up. Now this chain is a little bit annoying as opposed to some other ones. You pretty much have to get a pair of pliers in order to get enough grip onto it. But once we do that, we can push it in place and it'll come right out. So we're gonna squeeze that down and squeeze it down. Yeah, this one's wanting to fight me a little bit. Let's see if we can't get lucky just kind of pushing on. Yeah, we're not gonna be able to, yeah, we won't be able to get it by pushing on it. We need to actually be able to properly release this thing. So let's see if I can do this in a manner where you can actually see what's going on without my hand being in the way. Yeah, see, now I'm trying to work left-handed. I don't think that's gonna work out too well. You know, a lot of plumbers do not like Kohler products, and the reason for that is typically because they make their products, whether intentionally or not, they make their products where servicing them can be quite a nuisance. And this is one such example. Pretty much every other clip on the market that works with a flapper or something that houses in a flush valve washer is a nice, solid, large clip. You usually don't even need a tool to get it to push in. But Kohler says, no, we want this nice, tiny thing that is going to be an absolute pain if you ever have to mess with. So thank you for that, Kohler. Thank you so much for making a simple job aggravating. Seems like it's more difficult too when you're trying to film what you're doing. Okay, there we go. Got it on the back end. Now I should be able to pop that off. There we go. Okay, so now with this off of here, what I'm gonna do is reach down. Okay, gonna reach down, grab this flush valve washer, and sometimes, if they're really in rough shape, the whole thing will just break apart on you. Other times, you just pull it up, get it over the little fins that are on the tube, get it over the chain and get it out of there. I like to then take a look at the base of the tower, make sure there are no remnants, old washer particles in place. If there are, you want to clean that up, or else you're going to have a washer that is not going to stick properly. Got a new genuine Kohler flush valve washer. Gonna get that opened up and installed. And we're just gonna do the reverse action here. We're just gonna pull it over the overflow tube, down past the chain and the fins, till we make it to the base. Once we do, you want to catch it in the groove at the bottom of the base. Again, when the whole thing pulls out the way it's designed to do, this is simpler, but even so, it's really not a big deal doing this. It just requires a little bit of patience. You don't want to try to fight it if you have difficulty and force it to go. Just want to be nice and calm and patient with it. So now we've got it in place. Go around, make sure it's fit in there properly. If you can even kind of rotate it a little bit. That just helps to make sure it's nice and in position. Drop the overflow back down and pop the clip back onto the tank lever. This part is usually a lot easier than removing it. There we go. We are now going to work on replacing the fill valve and the supply line. The first thing I'm going to do is get a bucket set up. I'm going to remove the supply line from the top portion. Looks like we actually have a gasket stuck in there. Now, once this is done, if you've ever played that trick with a straw, where you get a liquid in the straw and then hold the top portion to prevent the water from being able to spill out, that's exactly what I like to do here. So I put my thumb into the supply tube on the top side. I can now remove the bottom portion, and water is not going to spill out, save for the little water that we see dripping up from above, which we will capture that in just a moment. These are tile floors, not hardwood, so we're okay to have a little bit of water on it, which we'll be cleaning up shortly. So I'm gonna then put my supply line over the bucket and release my thumb, and there goes the water. Bucket's a great place to carry the extra pieces to. Placing the bucket underneath the toilet, get a medium pair of pliers, hold back on the fill valve from inside the toilet, and begin to loosen this nut up. You usually get the rest by hand. I'm gonna hold the bucket in position, tilt the fill valve at an angle that gives me more control and direction over the water flow, and let the water empty into the bucket. Of course, we already have most of the tank drained down, but there's always gonna be some water that's still in place. All right, with that down to a controllable trickle, put the fill valve into the bucket. Get our new fill valve. This is a Fluid Master fill valve. Getting not my top of the line product, but it is a good quality, industry standard grade component. This is going to last a long time for the new owner of the house. I'm gonna go ahead and install the supply tube to the outlet port. You can do this afterwards. I just find it a little easier to do it now. And then I'm gonna grab onto the shank and rotate counterclockwise. Just kind of gets me a general height adjustment. I'm gonna have to fine tune this a little bit. Set it into the toilet. And I wanna go a little bit higher. Okay, we'll set this in. And yeah, I'm happy with that height. So I'm gonna put it at about this orientation right here. That should keep the adjustment knob and the overflow tube free of anything else in the tank. Take the new nut and drop it, and then pick it up and thread into position. Don't forget to drop it, that part's really important. Get your medium pliers, tighten it down. You're not trying to go Hercules tight on it. You don't want to break the tank. Just go where it's snug and then maybe a quarter turn past that. We are then going to take our new stainless steel braided supply line. I love the ones with the metallic nuts on both sides. And I'm gonna thread it in place. You go with a heavy duty polymer plastic nut on the top side, you're gonna be okay if it's a plastic shank on that fill valve. I would not use a plastic female adapter, or I would not use a plastic thread. I would not use a plastic female threaded supply line on a brass shank, however. Get that tied down again, just a little past snug. Then we'll move on to the shutoff valve. Just kind of get it hand tight at first. And if you really want to be fancy, you can get yourself some smooth jaw pliers so that you don't mar this nut. Nice and tight, nice and secure. Now moving back up top. See if I can set this in position. Looks like my camera's about to die. Well, we're almost done. Get our overflow tube and just push it onto the yellow port. It's a little easier when you use two hands. I'm using one to hold a flashlight so you can see this. But you can still get it done one-handed. I'm now going to turn water onto the tank. We're going to let this thing fill up, and then we're going to adjust our water height in the tank to get an optimal flow in this toilet, an optimal flush. All right, our water level is a bit high on this one, so we're going to lower it by adjusting our dial. I don't know if you can actually see that. There we go. Rotate our dial to adjust it. This is more of a fine-tuning mechanism here. If we need to go a bit more extreme, then there's another way to do so, but we'll start with that. I'm gonna go ahead and rotate it as much as I can this direction, turn the water back on, and then we'll see where that puts us. I'm gonna release a little bit of water, and as soon as the fill valve kicks on, I'm gonna let it go. So now we'll see what that lines us up as. You can see we've got a little water level line indicator on the overflow tube. You don't always have to match that, especially if you're going with a different system, but it is a really good rule of thumb to use. I'm gonna go ahead and increase some water, so we will be able to make this happen within this tolerance zone. I think I'm liking that. Let me release some water and give it a fresh start. I could do a little less, try to match that line a bit better. Yeah, that's good, I like that. Now I'm gonna flush the toilet, make sure it flushes well. And we had a good solid flush. And we'll check the area over for leaks. And we are looking good. I'm gonna get things dried up and cleaned up over here. My camera's just about to die, so we're gonna go ahead and cut it out here. Thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like. And if you're new, subscribe to the channel. I'd really love to have you around, and I'll see you on the next one. Have a great day.